Polygon is one of the most important blockchain ecosystems in the crypto space already, but there's way more than meets the eye. Polygon's specific purpose is to scale Ethereum, but what does that actually mean? Well, in this video, I'm going to explain the 8 technologies that Polygon are currently working on to help Ethereum reach billions of users. Check out the timestamps in the description to see the different scaling solutions that Polygon are working on now, how they work, and why they are important. First, though, we need to understand why Ethereum needs other players like Polygon to scale its blockchain, and why Polygon even has a business right now, and what it has to do with scaling Ethereum over the next few years. So if you go to the Polygon website, you'll be met with all of their different scaling solutions, and they have a lot of them. Like most things in the blockchain space, there is not one size fits all solution, and specific users have specific use cases. And so you need a lot of different technologies to give them the best product and service that they require for their specific use case. If you've done any research into cryptocurrencies, you would have come across something called the blockchain trilemma, which basically means that the more decentralized and secure you become, the much more difficult it is to be fast and cheap. If you have a consensus mechanism that is very decentralized with thousands of computers around the world in different time zones, it becomes exponentially more difficult to create a very low cost and fast blockchain. This is just something that occurs, and it is for the most part unsolvable with the current technologies. So the way that you get around this is actually by making blockchains more modular. That is, different technologies, different blockchains, different ecosystems focusing on one specific area, and then other chains focusing on other areas. So for example, with Ethereum right now, which is the biggest blockchain, Ethereum is right here, really decentralized and really secure, but it's expensive and slow because of that. Now, the reason why it's expensive is because blockchain users actually want security and decentralization, and they're willing to pay for it. So on Ethereum, you might pay $5 to $50 for one transaction. And that is because Ethereum is secure, and when you're trading $10–15 million, you don't care about paying $5 in transaction fees, you care about security. But what about scaling out the blockchain? What about smaller users, people that are playing games? Those kind of use cases that don't need as much security can benefit from the blockchain trilemma coming down to speed and maybe less decentralization. But there are a bunch of different technologies that try and give everyone all 3 of these in one go. So this is the way that you do that, is by creating a modular blockchain. And down here, consensus could be done by Ethereum, and that's what they're going to focus on, consensus and security. But on the top, you can have different layers and scaling solutions that focus on execution, meaning fast and cheap transactions. This is what Polygon does with all of these different technologies, but they are very different. So I'm going to go through each one and the pros and cons. First up, we have a chain that you may have used, which is the Polygon proof-of-stake sidechain. So this is the one that most people are using now to go ahead and interact with lots of Ethereum dApps like OpenSea or Uniswap. The proof-of-stake sidechain is essentially a way to interact with some of the tokens on Ethereum, but you basically have a completely sovereign, independent chain. Yes, it's compatible with Ethereum, but you have to give up the decentralization and the security. So basically what this is a copy paste of Ethereum's code and then put on a much more centralized chain, actually with only 100 validators versus thousands for Ethereum. And so what you get is essentially the ability to ramp up the speed of transactions. You can see that transaction speeds are around 65,000 at max capacity versus Ethereum's at 15. The trade-off here is that yes, you are getting faster transactions or more throughput, but you are compromising on security and immutability overall. This is a compromise that a lot of people will make, especially if you're trading small amounts. You are going to compromise on the security a little bit to get those cheaper transactions. But essentially what happens here is that it's compatible with Ethereum, and then you can bridge your tokens over to this completely separate chain right here, which is called the Polygon proof of stake chain. Polygon proof of stake chain has been incredibly successful. You can see actually the growth of all the unique addresses on Polygon now standing around 130 million different unique addresses. Had a huge growth here. It's slowing, but definitely growing overall with the industry right now. Polygon Scan is even its own explorer. So Polygon proof of stake sidechain is a completely different sovereign chain to Ethereum, but is compatible with Ethereum. And so you can see the average transactions per day around 3.5 million right now, and it has its own explorer. So different to Ethereum, but you can bridge your tokens back over to Ethereum when you want, and you have to pay a small fee. Polygon proof of stake sidechain is similar to Binance Smart Chain and Avalanche C Chain in that it's a copy paste of Ethereum's code, smaller, more centralized, and higher throughput, cheaper transactions. Just to prove this even further, you can see how many addresses Polygon has in comparison to the competition. Polygon is right up here at number 3 with 140 million addresses, second only to Binance Smart Chain and Ethereum itself. You can see that these 7-day active addresses are right up at number 3 behind Binance Smart Chain and Ethereum. If you want to know exactly how to use the Polygon proof of stake sidechain, I have a dedicated video on getting set up, getting tokens in and out of Polygon sidechain and using all the applications. So I'll link that in the description. Now I want to get onto the tokenomics of Polygon and if they're good or bad or indifferent. So I'm on Masari right here, and we can see the emission supply curve for Polygon MATIC tokens. And what you can see here is that in June 2020, we obviously had a small amount, and we're actually going to be going up to a total max supply of 10 billion coins. So we're not there yet. We're actually about halfway there. So there are 50% of the issuance is outstanding, and then 50% is to go. What you can see is that the IEO, or the initial kind of offering investors, got almost 2 billion tokens. The team is getting quite a lot. You can see this right here. They're actually starting to unlock right now, and they'll be getting, 1.5, almost 2 billion tokens. You can see the foundation is getting a lot. The foundation will take a lot of the value from those tokens and invest in different opportunities and invest in growing the blockchain overall. You then have the ecosystem, which is a lot of investments in different parts of the infrastructure, and then staking rewards. Staking rewards is something that investors can actually get as part of helping secure the network. And these are a bonus and a reward for investors that will give them a yield in new tokens. Something to be really sure of, though, is that Polygon have actually introduced what's known as a token burn. So a token burn is something that Ethereum has introduced, and Polygon, being an Ethereum kind of sidechain and ecosystem coin, is doing the same thing. A token burn is when some of the fees on the network actually get taken by the network itself and then burned and taken out of supply. This has the result of essentially giving some of that fee value back to token holders. It's the same as a share buyback, where a company takes the profits and buys back its own shares and then cancel those shares so that the value of each coin or share is raised up. This is what Apple do, and a lot of other shares and companies. And you can see the amount of MATIC burned right here. So some of the fees that are paid on the network will actually be taken to buy back some of the tokens and then hopefully increase value for the rest of the token holders. So I mentioned that there are a lot of tokens that will be given out as rewards for staking. So investors can stake their coins and earn a return. That will come from new coins, so emissions, so that's dilutive, but it also comes from fees. So if you stake your coins, you can earn those staking rewards until the max supply is reached. And from there, you'll also earn some of the fees paid on the network. This is exactly how it works. This is just on the proof of stake chain, by the way. So that you can secure the network yourself, you can see that the proof of stake chain has 100 global validators. That's 100 different computers that are unconnected that validate transactions on the network. You also have almost 15,000 delegators. These will be large institutions that carry out delegation on behalf of, maybe thousands of different investors by themselves, almost 4 billion staked and 700 million paid out in rewards. So this is essentially how staking works. The network has to incentivize people to keep the network secure and check everyone else's work so that nothing kind of shady is going on. This is how Polygon pays those rewards. So like I said, Polygon has 100 validators that put themselves out to run computers 24/7 to check transactions coming in from people on the network. And they obviously have to do work right here, which costs money and time and infrastructure. And so they need a reward. They actually get some of the fees paid on the chain out in MATIC, but for right now as well, MATIC actually pays them extra coins as a bonus to kind of get the network up and running and make sure that everything is going all right. If you're a user of the blockchain, you pay fees, but you can also be an investor of the blockchain and actually put your MATIC onto these validators as well and gain a percentage of the fees and the rewards that they get from MATIC itself as part of your delegation. So those validators will basically take a fee from you if you invest with them. You get most of the rewards though, and you can see the current APY around about 14%. You can actually go onto the Polygon rewards calculator and see how much as a percentage you would earn if you staked your Polygon MATIC. You can see on the left-hand side here, let's say for example, we have 20,000 MATIC. And we can see that there are currently around 42% of the coins staked on the network. On the right-hand side, you can see this is how much you would earn per year, which is coming out at around a 9% APY for investing your coins into those validators and helping to secure the network. If you want to know how to go ahead and stake MATIC tokens, I'll leave some helpful videos in the description. You can also stake them on some of the biggest exchanges like Binance and some others. So I'll leave links to those exchanges in the description. They often have sign-up bonuses and offers as well that you can check out. So check the description for those. Now I'm going to come on to the business of Polygon though. So you have this proof of stake sidechain and other chains, which I'll talk about in a second. But what is the business of Polygon? You know, they need to attract people to use the chain. So they need to, have a launch of applications that people want to come and use. Well, actually, there are over 10,000 decentralized apps on Polygon right now. Polygon are objectively one of the, premier providers of network solutions in the Ethereum ecosystem, and all of the top A1 dApps are on Polygon. Curve Finance, Avail, Celsius X, Balancer. These are all the, the biggest and best DeFi applications, but you can see a bunch of different sectors also use Polygon. For example, bridges and wallets, metaverse games, NFTs, OpenSea is all on Polygon. So they have very good links with a lot of the, big applications, which means users. And obviously the value of Polygon, is going to increase with more users, more fees, more transactions. Polygon, though, also use their MATIC token in their entire ecosystem and investments in different applications and everything like that. So as we can see here, they actually have a Polygon funds page where they invest in various different opportunities, and you can just flick through them all here. Nodes as a service, Polygon Ventures. So they're basically using their MATIC token to invest in a lot of other ecosystem projects as well. And that's obviously where a lot of value is. Then we're going to go on to Polygon Studios. Polygon Studios is obviously different to the Polygon infrastructure. Polygon Studios is a kind of separate company that is looking to build out Web3, NFTs, and gaming, and of course using the Polygon chains to reach very cheap transactions, which is what you need for games. Polygon Studios essentially works with a bunch of the top kind of games in the crypto space at the moment, including Sandbox and Decentraland, Zrun. You can see a lot of different games that are actually launching on Polygon because of its cheap fees, and these will obviously increase. You can go to Polygon Studios Twitter and see just daily all of the different games that are linking up with Polygon Studios to help build out their games, because Polygon has the infrastructure and the knowledge to develop cryptocurrency-based games, all the blockchain stuff that they need to know. These game developers maybe don't know about the blockchain side. They can create a game, and they obviously need to link up with Polygon Studios for all of their technologies. If you just go down their Twitter, you will see announcement after announcement after announcement of all of these different types of games that are launching on Polygon. They also went and raised $450 million, one of the biggest raises, for essentially investing further in their ecosystem and all of the scaling solutions that they have. You can see some of the investors right here: Sequoia Capital, SoftBank, Tiger Global, even Kevin O'Leary, and Celsius as well. Celsius are one of the the biggest kind of lending and passive income apps. They invested, including a bunch of other very high profile investors. Talking about Celsius and passive income, I'll leave a link to them below. You can get a $50 Bitcoin bonus with a deposit on their platform, so I'll link them in the description. But one thing we need to know is that with all of the scaling that is obviously necessary and all of the games that are becoming on Polygon, you can see them here, play to earn games and everything like that, there's a lot of competition. There are other side chains that do all this and are in this, kind of industry. You have BNB, Binance Smart Chain, you have Avalanche C Chain, which is basically trying to do exactly the same thing. And you have the Polygon MATIC side chain. Where Polygon differs to those two competitors mainly is its focus on genuinely scaling Ethereum, keeping all of the security and decentralization of Ethereum, but also directly scaling it on what is known as layer 2. These coins are not layer 2 Ethereum. These are side chains. These are different sovereign blockchains, and they take away security to give cheap fees. What Polygon wants to do is create a bunch of scaling solutions that really genuinely scale Ethereum. So cheap fees and security, and I'll go through them now. The first genuine Ethereum layer 2 scaling solution that Polygon has is Polygon Hermez. This is a ZK rollup or zero knowledge rollup. This is not a side chain. It is directly built on top of Ethereum, meaning that for the most part, you keep all of the security of Ethereum, but you can roll up and bunch transactions up and then send them down all at once to the base layer, meaning that we get scale. You can see that Polygon Hermez is a zero knowledge rollup. So what happens is, essentially, you can get up to 2,000 transactions per second. Now, this is way below the Polygon proof of stake sidechain, but you have much higher security on this ZK rollup because this is, for the most part, as secure as Ethereum. So this is just another solution that you can use. And Polygon Hermez has really been developed as a payment solution, or kind of for transactions that don't need to be instant or ultra low cost, but you want all of that security and you don't have to pay $5 or $10, but more like 20 cents. So it is definitely built on top of Ethereum, and this is going to be what a lot of people interact with. You can see how this works. Essentially what happens is you get all of these transactions on the layer 2, that they are then bunched up for example, 2,000 transactions per block, and that validity proof, that's a proof that all those transactions are valid, gets sent down to the Ethereum base layer as one transaction. So you are spreading the cost of the Ethereum layer 1 transaction over 2,000 transactions, obviously creating scale. Layer 2 isn't just about scale though. There are other things you can do with layer 2. For example, something called account abstraction. That means that you can abstract away all of the blockchain stuff from the end user, and you can just make it really simple and easy to use. Essentially, all within one application, you can trade and invest and do everything without leaving it. And that's what Polygon Hermez is going to do. It has a web wallet, but also you can see here they're going to be creating a Polygon wallet on your smartphone that can basically do everything by sending transactions, investing, sending money to people, everything like that. But obviously completely decentralized on top of Ethereum, meaning that you have complete custody of your money and no one can mute your transactions or control them in any way. Now, like I was saying before, blockchains have to be modular in order to give the best of all worlds to their end consumer. Polygon Avail is a part of the modular stack that Polygon are going to use for data availability. Data availability is really important because these rollups need to call on lots of data in order to prove that their transactions are valid, and this just makes things much faster. Polygon Avail is a data availability solution. So just imagine all of the data kept somewhere else, making it really fast and easy to call on that data. Part of the modular stack, you can see it right down here, the data availability layer. So it's not an execution layer like Polygon Hermez is, but it's data availability and a really important part of the stack that helps all of these transactions go through fast and cheap. Next, we have Polygon Edge, which is an SDK or a software development kit that developers can use to basically create their own blockchains. Now, these blockchains will be incredibly centralized and somewhat permissioned, so definitely not the same as something like Ethereum. But there are definite use cases for this. Actually, if you've ever seen Cosmos Atom or Polkadot, this is kind of a similar thing. This is way more like Cosmos Atom, to be honest, which is the development kit that enables people to essentially create their own blockchain and then communicate with other blockchains that are part of the same ecosystem. So what you can do is actually interact with Ethereum and also Polygon, but create your own kind of sovereign chain with your own tokens and possibly your own tokenomics and everything like that. So this is just a kind of developer kit that people can use to develop their own blockchains in a kind of siphoned off kind of way. Then we have Polygon Nightfall. This is a security solution from Polygon. So there are two different technologies here. You have a roll-up, which is a way to bundle up transactions and then send them down as one transaction to the base layer, which makes fees cheaper. But you also have zero-knowledge technology as well, which actually increases security and essentially means that you can transact in a completely private way. And that's what Polygon Nightfall tries to do. It essentially teams up an optimistic roll-up, which is a way of rolling up transactions, making somewhat cheap transactions, definitely cheap enough for most people not to care, not the very cheapest, but cheap enough. And then it teams that up with zero-knowledge technology to essentially create a system where people can use Polygon Nightfall if they want to interact in a completely private way, where people can't track or trace transactions. And this is going to be used for enterprises and commercial entities that need to hide some of their transactions from competitors. What you can see down here is that the transactions per second are around 110, so not the most transactions and not the cheapest transactions, but with this optimistic roll-up and zero-knowledge technology can basically make those transactions private. And so you can actually, what you can see here provides SDK. This is a technology that some enterprises may use to essentially, make sure that their transactions that need to be private stay private. Next, we have Polygon Miden, which is a Stark-based roll-up, and that basically means that it's general purpose, as you can see here. Now, Polygon Hermez is actually developing a ZK EVM, which means Ethereum virtual machine within the ZK rollup. And as you can see, around 2,000 transactions per second. With Polygon Miden, it actually has a different virtual machine called Miden virtual machine right here. So it's not the same as the Ethereum virtual machine. Advanced features currently not available on Ethereum. You can actually put in here. This actually has some advantages. The first one is it can scale much more than Polygon Hermez, 1,000 transactions per second now, but all the way up to 10,000 transactions per second after Ethereum goes through some upgrades. And it has essentially different types of smart contracts that you can put within this roll-up to reach massive scale. You can see that it has a 5-second block production time. So every 5 seconds you get a block, and 1,000 up to 10,000 transactions per second. So this has the ability to scale massively the amount of transactions on the network. And there are obviously some types of applications that need this. For example, an exchange that needs very high throughput and a lot of transactions all in one. Polygon Miden is extremely robust and secure, but it gives slightly larger transactions in terms of the amount of data, and it's slightly more expensive. So Polygon made another solution, which is called Polygon Zero, which uses ZK snarks as a technology. Again, this is attempting to make things very cheap and efficient. You can actually see here that the block times can go down to 170 milliseconds. So this would be great for applications that need extremely quick finality and extremely quick confirmation that transactions are happening. And it's a lot smaller. You can see the proof size is only 45 kilobytes. So very fast and very high throughput in terms of transactions. However, it's slightly less secure than Polygon Miden. So of course, whatever application that you need, you can choose one of these scaling solutions. You can see it's a composable ZK EVM that scales. This is still in development. Most of these technologies are still in development and are going to roll out over the next few years. And they even have another solution which is based on digital identities. It's called Polygon ID. So in the future, our identities are going to be on-chain. This will be our ID cards, passports possibly, and everything else will obviously be in a wallet on our phone and kept on the blockchain. But With digital identities, it will actually be way more secure than what we do now, which is using our email address and credit card details and, giving people, photocopies of our ID. That's obviously not secure. What will be happening on chain is that all of your ID documents, and potentially all of your insurance documents and everything like that will be on chain in your digital wallet. Then what you can do is essentially what's known as a zero knowledge proof. So you can prove something about your identity without actually revealing the specific information. So for example, you can tell an application that you're over 18, or you can tell an application and prove to it that you are a citizen of a certain country and therefore gain access without actually revealing where you're from or exactly how old you are or your address specifically. That is obviously a huge upgrade to what we have now, which is revealing all of our personal information. This is the future. Obviously, Polygon, amongst many others, are developing this right now. But Polygon ID is a ZK-based privacy solution where you can hold ID documents in your wallet and then prove your identity and other information without actually revealing what that is. So then Polygon has so many different technologies that they're working on all under one roof. What we can say is that Polygon focuses on execution layers and not decentralized layers for consensus. They also have a data availability layer, and they really are blockchain developer services for many different types of applications. The value of the token right here, the MATIC token, will depend on network usage overall. So rather than being a store of value, I don't think it's a store of value coin. Its value for me will depend on the success of these technologies being used by many different market participants. MATIC or Polygon have said themselves that they're attempting to be the Amazon Web Services of the blockchain. The downside of this is it sounds great, but there are a lot of competitors that are doing the same thing, including other scaling networks on Ethereum and other companies like Circle who are bringing identity solutions and other solutions in here. So there's a lot of competition for Polygon, but they are definitely one of the leading players in the space. If you want to know more about Polygon or other cryptocurrencies, you can check out my crypto investor course. I'll link it in the description for you. Almost 200 videos of putting together a crypto portfolio, teaching you the basics of crypto, going through my knowledge as a previous investment manager on how to put portfolios together, how to invest in kind of a diversified portfolio, and how to trade and go ahead and actually become an investor in the crypto space. All of these videos are right here. I also add videos over time for free for existing users, so I'll leave that link in the description, amongst all the other resources and videos that I mentioned in this one. I'm James with MoneyZG. Cheers for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.